This is Fantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, Yoki Hijo? This is Stephen, your host with Mythology Podcast, along with my lifelong friend Ben and a special guest. His wife Lyndsey is joining the show, which is fun because every now and then we get family members who hop on for books that they, I guess we just like wear down our family members enough where they finally read the books we love and they join us. So excited to have you, Lyndsey.
Thank you. That's what road trips get me.
Yeah.
Audiobooks.
Yeah, when a Sanderson book comes out during a road trip, it's a non-negotiable because I'm like, I have to finish this so I don't get spoilers, So
All right. That's what Fantology gives Ben, apparently. The ability to listen to the books he likes on road trips.
yes.
Okay, so we're talking about Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. Wait, did I actually say the title right? That is the full title, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, good. And this was the most recent secret project came up from Brandon beginning of July. So we're a couple of weeks behind, actually. But I think this was my favorite of the secret projects so far.
Yeah, for sure. I think that I enjoyed it more than Tress, just because I thought it was more. There's a more dynamic relationship between the characters. So, and I liked kind of I felt like there's a little bit more of a standard edge with this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I thought it's been the best. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue that Frugal Wizard was better than this one, but I think that there's a close contender between this and Tress.
Yeah, I can see that. Lyndsey, I know you're not as big of a fantasy reader as we are, but what was your general opinion of the book? Did you like it? How does it compare to other books that you like? Just give us kind of your non-fantasy nerd impression.
I thought it was really good. I then got into a lot of the Sanderson aspect of everything, but I feel like I didn't need to know all of that to enjoy the book and enjoy the story. And I really liked the characters. Never thought I'd really get into all of it definitely has what she talked about at the end, like the manga or
Oh yeah. Then the note, you mean at the end? Like yeah.
But I liked it all.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions going through it was there's like quite a bit of Cosmere heavy scenes in it, you know what I mean? Or not even scenes, but just like little nuggets dropped around there. And so during the listening, I'm like, oh, you don't really need to know about that. And Lyndsey was like, yeah, I didn't think I did. You know what I mean? So that kind of answered that question for me as we were reading, is that like, yes, this will relate to other parts of the Cosmere, but it's not going to really impact your enjoyment while reading it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he does with most of his books, right? Outside of Stormlight, where I think you do need to know a lot of things more and more, but he does a really good job of sprinkling in enough nuggets for the super dedicated readers and making it enjoyable enough for those that just want a story.
Yeah. One thing is, we were just talking about, me and Lyndsey before this podcast, and we were working through the Lightbringer series from Brent Weeks, and she was like, well, it's obviously not
you
as
guys,
good.
Are you guys still going through that series?
We don't go on very many road trips, Stephen.
No.
I heard about you guys reading those books years ago.
We just finished the third one not too long ago. Yeah. So, I mean, we're making progress.
I know. I was like, let's start the fourth one. He's like, sorry, we have to read the short story instead. Cool.
Yeah. So, but she was like, obviously it doesn't compare with that book, which I agree, but they are two different things. You know what I mean? This one is much more simple, not as many moving parts. And because of that, the payoffs aren't as amazing with anything, but it's still, I thought it was enjoyable. So
yeah, I think that's a good way to describe it. Like you said, the ending was good, but it wasn't mind-blowing, amazing. I can't believe that this was the twist. I think it was a cool twist, but it wasn't anything that really it wasn't anything super remarkable where you're never gonna forget what the twist was.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were like we were kind of trying to guess. We would kind of pause and like, oh, what do you think like is going to happen? And
Mm.
so should we move into spoilers, or should we kind of give that warning
Yeah.
first?
Anything else we should say before, in case people haven't read the book yet for whatever reason?
Um,
Overall, like, what would you give it out of 10? What would you give the book?
I'm gonna say 7.5 out of 10. I think that, I mean,
Okay.
the thing is, like, to me, if I'm like 8.5 or 9, then it's like gonna be a book that I like reread and recommend all
Yeah,
the
that's
time,
fair.
and like kind of fundamentally like changes things for me. And for me, this book wasn't that, but I thought it like did really well with what it was trying to do. So solid 7.5.
I have a hard time. I feel like if I'm spending the time to do something enjoyable, read a book, watch a movie, I either am going to like it and try not to criticize it, or I'm just going to turn it off. So
So you're gonna go 10 out of 10.
0 or 10, it's a 10.
It's a good attitude on life. Just enjoy everything or DNF it.
There you go.
I'll say like, yeah, 7.5 feels pretty good. Maybe an 8. I thought it was good, but at the same time, yeah, I don't think I'd reread it. And I think my main issue, like I liked most of the book, but I did think it was kind of slow. Like throughout the middle, it was just kind of the same thing over and over again, where they were
Mm,
slowly like learning how to do each other's art, and
yeah.
it dragged a little bit. Maybe it didn't need to be as long as it was, but there
Yeah,
were
I
some good
had
payoffs and some good
it,
characters.
the like rom-com part of it was like where like it spent the middle just like kind of going on like rom-com-y dates, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah,
I feel like they had to get to know each other though,
for sure. But it was obvious where it was going. The thing is, like, for me, there has to be like some type of like suspense or like motivating thing for them to get to know each other. This time it was just like, oh, like we're just continuing to be like, smushed together, so we'll kind of make the best out of it.
Yeah, but knowing that he wrote it for his wife, I mean, I feel like
Yeah, it's
that's,
super cute.
you
yeah.
know,
Like you need a love triangle, Ben, in order to make be more suspense.
No, maybe not a love triangle, but maybe have one of them be like clearly less interested than the other or something like that. Like a Hitch situation. I don't know. Like you
Okay.
just, if you're gonna make like most of the book, like all the middle section be about like these two characters like slowly coming together. They kind of came together really quick at the beginning, and then like just like,
I don't know. She was pretty like ruthless to him on her world. So
yeah, that's true. My world, my rule. Yeah,
I feel like we got a little bit of that.
that's fair. Okay, maybe she was a little bit harder to get than he was. Which is
Okay,
fair.
let's
She was
say
a
we're
Yoki Hijo.
yeah, right. Definitely. Let's say we're transitioning over to spoilers now. So if you haven't read the book, now we're going to talk about the full plot.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to what you guys were just talking about, because I thought that was going into spoilers. Yeah, no, I agree. I think that Painter was definitely like he had potential. We got that from his backstory. He's very talented, skilled, whatever, but he also was, stuck in a rut a little bit, and Yumi was Yoki Hijo and kind of this legendary figure. So I think there was some potential there, but maybe you didn't really know it as the plot was unfolding. So I don't know, maybe it seemed a little mundane for you, Ben, as things were progressing through.
Well, I think it was just like that contrasted with the fact that there's clearly like these big mysteries that I want to know about. And so like every scene where it's just like, I don't know, like Yumi shopping, or like them like having another awkward encounter, or like them going to like floating away on a tree and stuff, like all those scenes, though they're like cute and they work well in the story, like I think they just kind of dragged on a little bit. And when I really just wanted to know, like, because I felt like it was foregone that they were going to end up together, and that's the whole like tension part of it.
It kind of had some vibes, like Korean drama vibes almost, where you know what's going to happen from the beginning. more or less. And I don't watch very many of these, so
I
I
was
could be
gonna
way
say,
off.
To a certain
But-
extent, that's like all romance, right?
Sure, sure.
They're gonna.
But K-dramas are just like way too many episodes for me. That at least my preference. Like I started watching one and I was like, well, this is 20 episodes. I feel like after 3, I kind of know what's going on. So maybe that's what we're feeling a little bit through the middle of Yumi, where it's like, okay, we get it. Let's speed it up with the plot stuff that we actually are interested in.
yeah, I could totally feel that. And I hadn't even made that connection. So the fact that one of my favorite parts of the book is how immersive it was with like the Japanese and Korean cultures and stuff, and how I felt like he really like paid a lot of respect and kind of did his research. And I mean, the fact that he lived in Korea for a couple of years kind of probably helped with that. But the fact that he also captured like that random element that I might not have ever considered is really cool to me.
Well, I mean, I don't know. That's just something I threw out. Who knows if that's actually
Yeah, well, benefit of the
anything
doubt.
or not. But yeah, no, it did feel like pretty culturally lived in.
Yeah.
For I don't know, for whatever for whatever authenticity we can bring to that, which is not much.
Which is zero.
Very, very little.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was a way to like quickly develop a setting that I think most of us could like easily picture, without I don't know. I really appreciated it. So
Yeah, and the setting that he created with Torio City, or not Torio City, with Torio where Yumi was and Kirihito where Painter was. I thought both of those settings were like pretty quickly and efficiently created, and also fairly immersive. Like you could visualize, or at least I could visualize both of them very quickly, and they were unique and exciting to be in. So yeah, as always, like we always know Brandon's going to do a good job with the world building, and this was no exception.
Yeah, like the hues, like of the what lines were those called? Like the
Heian, something
yeah,
like that.
Heian lines or whatever. Like it just like it was totally like made for Hollywood, right? Where you could just like totally picture this like dark city with like these neon lights all over and going to noodle shops.
It's like,
and,
did you guys ever see Tron?
Yeah.
I got like some vibes of that, just dark city, the neon lines, and kind of like Tokyo type vibes that you'd get from movies.
Yeah, totally. And then it's so funny because you contrast that with her world, with Yumi's, I mean, put a big quotation marks around world, but like Yumi's experience of like hot sun, hot, ground, plants just kind of floating away,
oranges, blues, like
exactly. Like they're just totally like contrasting, and so that I felt worked very well too.
So did you see as you were reading, did you think that they were the same world? Like what were your...
No, neither of us called it. I could sit here and try and say I did, but like both of us were like, oh, how are they gonna like get to each other's world or what? You know what I mean? Like yeah. Did you kind of think about it?
No, honestly, a lot of times with Brandon's books, I just kind of read along and enjoy them and don't theorize too much as I'm reading. And then it's fun because it all kind of makes sense. And you're like, oh my gosh, can't believe it. So I thought he did a good job with that. I do think the whole spaceship thing, which was just meant to throw you off.
Red herring. Yeah.
That was kind of weird and didn't really work for me.
Yeah, because there's no payoff for it, right?
Right. Even like describing the aliens that live there, like
yeah,
I forgot about that whole thing.
Do we know what world they're going to?
Yeah, the reason why he described the aliens is because it's a Cosmere thing, and they're like that's like a very, very fringe thing in the Cosmere. So that's really just for like
people. Which one was it?
Well, so that race is called Shodel, I think, and we've seen them like one other time in Mistborn Era 2. I just looked this up on Coppermind, is why I know this.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like 17th Shard has an episode about this that I listened to.
This is like a Dragonsteel thing that he's planning on getting into in one of his last series that he's gonna write. So it's really not a big deal at all for Cosmere fans at this point. But if you're way into it, like, yeah, sure, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of what makes it magical though, is because like when you do get introduced to those people like 10 years
Yeah.
from now in a random book, then we'll be like, oh my gosh, this was hinted way back like in Yumi. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
It's a fun
But
game.
yeah, it's a different race. I think they're kind of like a hive mind type race. At least that's what Coppermind said, but I don't know too much.
Okay. That's fair. But that was like kind of a pretty big red herring that didn't have any.
Yeah,
You're
like
used
did
to
you
the
ever think the
resolution, right?
spaceship was actually gonna I feel like the spaceship we never really thought was gonna be anything.
Yeah.
It was just
I
too
mean,
early on, it was too obvious.
yeah, exactly. Um, and I also I don't know. So when you're reading about these contrasting worlds, I mean, do you feel like that was also part of like throwing you off the scent that they were actually the same world? Because I mean, like the whole like, oh, there's a glowing star in the, like that was kind of a
Yeah.
similar red herring to that, right?
Yeah. I guess I probably thought, like, if I had to make a guess, I would say I thought they were just different planets, but I did not think that the spaceship was going to mean anything. And I feel like we're kind of primed to think that because we know Brandon has the Cosmere and he's got all these different planets. And so it makes sense to think like, oh, two vastly different environments, they must be different places.
Mhm.
So when it turned out to be the same place and they were separated through the means of the plot and the magic and everything, it really worked together pretty well.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting too when oh, what's Hoyt's friend's name? The
Design.
design, yeah. When design was like, it's definitely not time travel. You can't go backwards in time. Now it wasn't time travel, but it kind of was. You know what I mean? Like there's definitely like an element of like she's been dead for 1700 years. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So not necessarily time travel, but time funkiness for sure.
I'll say of the Cosmere things, design was definitely the most. I mean, Hoyd being present, that's always going to kind of happen, but design being there was the biggest thing that's important to people who are into the Cosmere. So Lyndsey, you probably missed that, but that's a Stormlight thing. And yeah, I mean, it's good to know that didn't really impact your reading of the book, other than there's like this weird alien thing that knows a lot of stuff.
I feel like her human persona though didn't like
decrease the barrier for you.
right.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, I feel like I saw her like Nikoro saw her, just as this eccentric woman.
Yeah. That's it. That's good. That's good that he was able to pull that off. And that's honestly the first time we've spent a lot of time with design as well. I mean, we've had a few lines from her, but
yeah, I mean, back where we know her from, she's like a infantile version of herself. So
yeah, this
is forward in time from where we left off with that story.
Yeah. Lyndsey, one thing I wanted to ask you about is like obvious, like for people at home, Lyndsey does some art, right? Maybe more so in the past life, but how did like your life as an artist like translate to like hearing about people on page doing artwork? Was it like capturing kind of like the meditative aspect of it, or
I really appreciated just like Nikoro's frustration with it, because I feel like that's more of what I got. Like there's so much like passion and there's so much that goes into it, but it's so easy to burn out when you're not seeing what you want to see, or I mean just the repetitive nature of it can be frustrating. So I don't know, I appreciated, which I'm sure Sanderson can relate to on a certain level of just like, look, I can phone it in when I want to because I'm that good, but
interesting. Yeah, that's kind of, I didn't even think about that aspect of it, of like he loved art until he was forced to, until like that love was kind of taken away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dang, that's interesting.
I'm not much of an artist, but I appreciated his perspective where he was talking about basically being stuck in his career and feeling like, what am I contributing to the world? And I don't know, I feel like a lot of people our age kind of have some thoughts in that realm. And
yeah,
I've definitely had some. So I thought that was pretty relatable, pretty well done.
I also liked how between the two of them, they were able to see the art and what they were doing. Whereas like, originally they couldn't. And even the narrator kept bringing up like everything is or can be art. It's just how it's perceived. I liked all that as somebody who appreciates art. So
yeah, that's true. It's kind of like it was described pretty early. Like the thing that attracted the spirits was like the creativity combined with like how people viewed it. You know what I mean? I forget the exact words they described it, but I remember really relating to it of like, if somebody creates something out of passion and other people appreciate that thing, then like it becomes art. You know what I mean? Like regardless of how other people like, and that might just be stacking rocks for some culture. Or it might be more traditional drawing or whatever it is. It can be art.
Then I remember back when we were first talking about the secret projects and we'd only read like the intro chapters and you were telling me about the rock stacking thing and I was like, this is a real thing. And you're like, yeah, dude, watch some YouTube videos. So
have you watched those YouTube videos?
Maybe.
There's some pretty,
yeah.
For people out there, if you haven't watched like rock stacking on YouTube, it's like a rabbit hole that you can go down. And there's some people that do some crazy things. So,
although we got that video at the national parks, do not.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you seen that video, Steven?
No.
There's like a probably like 5 foot high stack of rocks in Yosemite, and a park ranger pushes it over and is like basically encourages people to push over.
Like, don't stack this high. It's dangerous and it's messing with, the natural ecosystem. Like you pick up rocks and there's like things that live under them, and
exactly.
Just like don't leave rock stacking to the park rangers and
So yeah, that's very topical.
I'm getting there's real Yokihijo out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just out there stacking rocks.
Like, this is not for you.
What did you think? Maybe I was thinking a little bit too deeply into this, but did you consider like the rock stacking machine to be like a commentary on like AI right now? Or do you think that that's too far of a leap?
I definitely saw it because you've talked about it so much, but like, we've had a lot of these conversations about like AI creating art and is that stealing from artists and everything. And I thought it was interesting how he specifically said that there's something like mechanical about what they're doing. And what was it, like the spirits notice that, and while it's still beautiful, it's not the same. It's like not eliciting the same responses.
I thought it was super interesting. It was like a very unique perspective to take. Like something can, like a machine can perhaps accomplish the same result in the end, but the fact that there's no intentionality and passion behind it, and it can't like create something like new. I don't know. And maybe that was reading too far into it. If that's why I was interested to see if you had thought about it, because if not, then
no, I think it makes sense. Interesting, because he wrote this back during COVID, right? Which was before the big AI art boom that we've had in the past year or so. So he wouldn't have been thinking of that specifically, but I don't know, maybe he like added some lines in after
I think
seeing everything that was happening.
No, okay, so there's for sure been an AI boom, but it was happening a year ago. I remember like a long time ago watching like crazy YouTube videos from like MKBHD when he was like typing stuff into AI and like and having the AI draw pictures and stuff. It's been for at least a year.
Okay. Well, okay. So it's been maybe like popularized in the past 6 months to a year, but it's
been commercialized, we'll say, because people are actually yeah. But
I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to think that Brandon would think like AI could make art. Like that's certainly not a new idea.
Yeah.
Even in 2021.
I know. I'm hoping that somebody like asked him about it or something, because I'm interested to, because to me it like lined up perfectly with like a very reasonable take that he had in that. So
I think the book basically like tells us how he would answer a question like that. Which is what you just summarized. Like AI can make art and there's beauty to it, but it's not as good as the real thing.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, were there, so one of the other things I kind of like that I'm thinking was pretty obvious, but was like now that I was gonna say telenovela, but now that you brought up the K drama thing, like how those kind of foreshadowed the ending in a lot of ways, right? Like the one that had a very sad ending, and then like had the extra ending that that made
Extra
everything right
episode,
again.
yeah.
I mean, did you like that foreshadowing, or was it too like heavy-handed for you?
I thought it was fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't think that it was actually going to be sad at the end. That would just that's not really like a Sanderson story. It usually ends with a glimmer of hope or some positivity. And the whole book, had positive vibes, and it seemed like things were going to work out. So,
Well, yeah, but I mean,
yeah,
even if it was the first ending, right, where she died, it was still like a satisfying end, right? Like reminds me very much of the end of a certain trilogy that Sanderson
sure,
has written, right? Um, where some people die, but it's for a goal and they accomplish that goal, right? Like that's
yeah, okay,
Well, and knowing that she's like 1700
yeah,
years
knowing
old,
that
you're
she's
like,
lived the same day for
okay.
1700 years. Yeah. But then like the fact that I feel like the fact that he's like writing it for his wife, like the couple has to like have a happily ever after, and in that type of book. So
yeah,
um yeah, I appreciate that. I just
yeah. I
I've
guess
been
I
kind
should
of
say the whole thing had fairy tale vibes, and so you expect it to have a happily ever after.
yeah. I guess my main question was like, was that too heavy of foreshadowing with the like K drama that perfectly mirrored
No,
the
I thought it
ending?
was good.
No. Okay.
I thought that was fine.
Yeah. I liked
Yeah.
it at when I just finished it, I was like, oh, that was cool. But then I was like, but it basically just like came out and showed it. You know what I mean? So normally with foreshadowing, it's like, oh, interesting. You know what I mean? But this was just like,
Uh-huh.
oh, that.
I, yeah, I didn't have a problem with it, but
Okay.
yeah. What did you think of the end though? Because I think that's what people are
Okay.
maybe like a little conflicted on, because she came back, but at the same time, was it really her? And she was super old, and is this weird? Like,
Well, no, I think the whole weirdness thing, I don't think I didn't really think about that, because the fact is she hasn't like matured mentally or emotionally at all, right? Like it's been, she's been stuck in the same place. But knowing what we know about how investiture works and stuff, it's like definitely her, right? Like she's, if I'm not mistaken, just like awakened type thing, like, or kind of like the same way that other characters have come back to life in the cosmic.
yeah, I don't know. It could be like sometimes Sanderson has things where they're like splinters or shadows of the original being or something like that. That could be the case here. Are you thinking like it's weird because she's coming back and she's super invested in like a god almost?
No, I picture her more like I'm trying to like stay away from spoilers for other books, but there's been a character of Sanderson's that has died and then was suddenly invested with a lot of power right after he died and came back to life.
Okay, sure.
Right.
So same character, kind of different incarnation, but still the same person.
Yeah, same person, just by the amount of investiture that they had when they died.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole premise of Warbreaker, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I thought honestly, I didn't have a problem with it, but I did see some people on Discord being like, "Yeah, this is a little bit weird." But I thought it was like I didn't read into it too much as like, oh, she faded away. Oh, but she's back, and it's like still enough of her where it feels like a good romance, and they live happily ever after. Like I thought that was good.
Yeah, I thought it was good too.
I was confused. I mean, thinking about it now, it's like, how did she get her body back? It was.
Yeah.
I think he like absorbed the shroud, which was fading away at the time, and that power was used to like recreate her somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay. I thought it was her own personal investiture, that because she was like, there's some comments in there that like she had as much investiture as like a returned from Warbreaker or like a Elantrian. Right.
Yeah, I think design mentions like, oh, you're she has something that measures investiture, and she's like, "Oh, you're off the chart."
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it was kind of like one of those things where she was willing to just let that go type thing. But then when she kind of heard, I think Painter kind of attracted her like essence, and then she decided to use that as
Yeah.
to bring herself back.
I don't know, maybe up for interpretation a little bit, but seems like she had basically faded away, and then he summoned her back through
Yeah, we'll say that.
magic
Through the power
and
of love
love.
and art.
And
Yeah.
art.
And art. Yeah.
Magic, love, and art brought her back.
Yeah.
Beautiful ending.
The fact that it was in an epilogue too, just it was perfect.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Do you have any worst of the best?
Yeah. So, Lyndsey, if you're not aware, we do this segment where we nitpick because we like to, I don't know, we like to be annoying about books. Anyway, so something from the book that I really enjoyed, but otherwise could have done without. I thought the way that the ending, like I always like the Sanderlanche and the big explanation of like, oh, this is how the magic worked. Oh my gosh. And it blows your mind and you love the twist, right? And usually Sanderson does a good job with this. I don't think this is necessarily like a bad job, but I did think having Hoyd like go on for a while and break it down for you after the fact, and he did this probably 2 or 3 times where it's like, oh, by the way, this is what's going on. I didn't like that as much. I thought I would have maybe enjoyed it more if I could have just figured it out on my own and had the opportunity to be clever as a reader, but instead it was just kind of like info dump a little bit.
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing, honestly. There was so many times where, and it's harder with an audiobook because you can't like flip back and be like, wait, what just happened, easily. But, we would be sitting in the car and I'd be like, I have no clue what's happening. And then it'd start like, let me explain what just happened. I'm like, okay.
So it's like,
I guess if you need to do that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the whole thing. It's like, I'm glad that it was explained because I was lost.
Yeah. But I guess part of that's just a short story, right? Like if you had more pages to
really explain it out. Yeah. I don't know. It's tough though, because you're right, Steve. It's kind of like, if you're having to resort to that, then you've kind of already like lost the battle a little bit. And it was kind of clear.
But like obviously it was intentional because he did it. He chose to do it.
Okay, but like what if he gave it to beta readers without that part, and all the beta readers were like, oh, this was confusing as crap. And so he's like, okay, I'll have like Hoyd explain it for a chapter afterwards. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
that's kind of the unfortunate reality that I'm thinking happened. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's pretty obviously pretty obtuse. So I doubt he was expecting people to pick up on everything that happened without the explanation.
That's fair. Yeah.
I feel like one thing he does well in his other books is usually has a pretty good gauge of making his twists understandable for the majority of people. And there's like a small percentage who are like, what the heck happened? And there's a small percentage who are like, I knew it all along, right? But most of the people are kind of understanding it as it's happening, and it works out well. And he does this well in all of his other books. So this feels intentional.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so weird for us though, is that like he has done it well so many times, and so this time it didn't really land.
To be fair, I mean, Hoyd has been intentionally narrating through the entire story.
That's true.
I feel like we lose that a little bit sometimes when it seems very like, oh, this is Yumi speaking or this is Nikuro speaking. But I mean,
he always breaks the fourth
he
wall.
starts it off saying that I'm telling you this story. Like, so I don't know. I guess I see the point, but I did feel frustrated when I didn't understand what was happening and then had to have it explained to me.
Well, an example of him doing it well just in this story was the whole same world twist, right? Where he like got the map and overlaid it and was like, oh, this is, the dark spots coincide with the lights. Like that part Hoyd didn't need to explain because it was like, you felt like you're discovering it with the characters, you know what I mean? And it was a pretty like understandable twist. I felt like the part that needed to be explained was like, oh, like this is 1700 years ago and she's been living the same day. And, like kind of all that part. was confusing.
And it wasn't like any of that is super complex where we have to have it explained to us. Like, okay, living the same day, the nightmares are actually the people over there, the machine is bad. Like, we could have got that on our own.
Yeah, we could have gotten there. Yeah. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. That's a good nitpick though, because I think that kind of your point is that like all those twists are really good. Just the way that they ended up being presented was a little.
Basically, in all aspects of my life, I want to feel like I'm smart, and this deprived me of that feeling.
There. Yeah. There you go. It's a little bit like at the end of like a murder mystery, right? Where he's like you should have been able to figure it out by now, right? But then they have to still kind of go back and explain it.
Yeah.
Okay, I will say
It wasn't even the end though. It was just like immediately.
immediately after.
It's like you expected people to be confused.
Yeah.
If you're confused, let me explain.
If you're confused, as I was. Yeah, that's Hoyt for you though. He's good. Let's see. I have a couple. I'm gonna go for now with like Nikaro's gang of friends.
Okay.
Right. That I felt like they're great because they had like so much potential to be like characters in and of themselves, right? Like the girl that would use the horse, like the K-pop dramas to do your horoscope or whatever. Like that is such like a fun quirk. Or like the bodybuilder guy, or like just this like group of friends that you really felt like could have been so much more than they were, right? Because all they really ended up being was just like a way for Painter to have his own kind of character arc fulfilled, right? Of like having this group of friends, then losing them, then gaining them back. But I felt like in a different story, like this group of friends could have, like, I would have loved just like going to school with them, you know what I mean, or whatever. Like there could be like a whole story where these characters like I get to
you wanted more.
Them.
You
I want more of them. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It just like I'm like for a lot of the book I was like, oh, surely we're gonna go like on an adventure with this group of people, or surely like we're gonna get like some more
final battle. Is that not good enough for you?
Well, it wasn't. No, because you didn't like see like much of this.
Not adventurous enough.
Not adventurous enough. No, I needed like a good old fashioned like into the forest adventure with them. You know what I mean? Where
they need to defeat a bully or take down an annoying professor or something like that.
Or even if they like came to like a like had a little bit of smackdown with the what's the dream team, or like the Dream Watch. Yeah. Like if they had like a little confrontation with the Dream Watch losers, you know, where they were like, we're doing your job for you, or I don't know, something like I needed some, because they're such like a lovable band of characters with each like these really like this quirky thing about them. So I just wanted that to be paid off a little bit more.
I feel like they weren't lovable though until the end. I mean, knowing that they like, I feel like you get them at the beginning from Nikaro's perspective, which is like these people that were shunning him and you didn't understand why.
Yeah.
So then it's like, oh wait, Akane is like very nice.
Yeah.
Which is confusing because they still talk crap about Nikaro all the time. And it's not until the very end that you realize that Nikaro's the one at fault. So I don't know. Then it's like,
well, you kind of always know that Nikaro did something.
But
and it turns out that he didn't even really do anything bad, right? He just was way too invested in, you know, becoming a member of the Dream Watch. So, I mean, obviously,
I thought that conflict was pretty human and understandable.
Yeah. And I thought that I'm really glad that Nikaro had a reason to be like the emo kid, because sometimes you just get the emo kid because that's their personality or whatever. But knowing that he was like this like go-getter was, I thought, had some depth for his character. You know. So
Lyndsey, do you have a worst of the best? Can we put you on the spot?
I mean, you kind of, the only thing I was thinking of was how I was frustrated with the thing that you were mentioning. Just
I should have let you go first. That was
it's okay.
That was rude of me.
I can do
like
it.
I said, I try not to like find things that I hate in stories, but I was a little like annoyed when it was mainly that I was annoyed that I couldn't understand what was going on. And then, then I realized that I wasn't the only one, but
Yeah, you also wanted to feel smart.
yeah. Well, especially because we've been like making all these guesses the
Yeah,
whole way
the
through.
whole
And then I'm like,
drive.
wait, this is getting way complicated. I don't know what just
Yeah,
happened.
there's a part where it was funny. I think Lindsay's like, "What is going on?" Or I was like, "What is going on?" I'm like, "I'm sure somebody will explain it, or I'm sure it'll become clear."
Yeah.
Like we literally had to, and then like literally
Hated
like
after
Hoyt
that.
just comes on.
Yeah.
What another thing? I don't know if this qualifies for worst of the best, but is the fact like Sanderson relied so much on the situational humor and like this like situational like inappropriateness of them like having to bathe together and having to like
I do think that got a little cringe. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that there's a lot of great parts of their relationship of like being stuck together, right, and tethered together. And I felt like it kind of took like the low road on that sometimes of like the low hanging fruit
Mhm.
of like we're gonna make
Like,
them
oh,
bathe
they're always
now.
together, but they're naked. What's
Yeah,
gonna
exactly.
happen?
Yeah,
But it's like he was always in her body, so like that was
yeah,
you
but
know what I
she
mean?
was like she would like undress by him as a spirit and so,
Right. But with that, it's like how many times do we need to hear the
That's
same?
true. The same, yeah, the same. That's why I'm
We
like,
get that she took a bath every day, but like
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Which I guess was supposed to reinforce the whole thing at the end where
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, it was the same
The
day
same
the
day.
whole
Yep.
time.
Yep.
Which, yeah, totally. Which works on one level, but also goes back to our critique at the beginning of like pacing was a little slow. We kind of we
Yeah.
got it.
I mean, you
after a
could
while.
do all the details of a bath and then next time just say we had to do a bath again. You know what I mean? Without
Yeah.
like talking about all the soaps and the
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. The situational humor. I think the bathing thing was really the only complaint there. I do like how she kind of like walks into his apartment that's trash and like has to like deal with that and stuff. Like there's
Mhm.
elements of it that I thought like
Or she
they had to
doesn't
kind of-
like at first she doesn't realize that he's as much of a slob as he is.
Yeah.
And yeah, that
like
was funny.
there's aspects of like having to like basically be a married couple without any of like the like easing into that aspect of life, but like so that all that I really thought worked well for their
Mhm.
relationship, but just the low hanging like almost like YA humor,
I'm gonna say I also didn't love the whole carnival scene.
Oh, see, I thought that was pretty cute, yeah, it was a
But
date. It was,
I know, it's just like yeah, exactly.
She didn't.
It's like there's
Lyndsey,
all this
she
stuff
didn't shun
happening.
him after learning of his
Yeah.
sordid past. She didn't shun him.
I
She
know, and
accepted
she's trying to
him
make
with his
him
faults.
feel yes. Yeah. I just felt
And
like
she
I was
drew
like,
a picture. She drew a picture of their hands overlapping.
Okay.
No, the carnival was a good scene, especially when you like overlay like the whole carnival with like the fact that there's like a nightmare that attacks them at the end.
That's what I'm saying. I just feel like there was so much going on. And it's like, oh, let's go to a carnival and we're gonna like explain it in detail,
Yeah.
like them riding the Ferris wheel and playing the games. And I'm like,
Yeah,
can we get back to the
yeah,
nightmare that they just saw? Like,
yeah,
Note to Ben:
Like-
Lyndsey hates carnivals.
yeah. Don't take her on a Ferris wheel. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I think I like that point. That's a good word.
trying all the food, you
Yeah,
know?
okay.
Like I just
Sanderson's thing of like the food has this magical quality where the first bite is the most delicious bite that you've ever had, and then by the last bite, it's like the
You
worst.
just-
The
Oh,
worst.
I remember that line. That's funny.
Yeah, that was a pretty good line, but
then so he tells it and then
like
then she does it. I'm like, okay.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I will say that lately, the Sanderson books that I've read, like the last few that have come out, I have not been into his humor at all. And it's been kind of a downer for me because I'm like, dang, is Brandon as good of an author as I think he is? Like this is not funny. And I'm not really enjoying the books quite as much as everyone else. But I like this one. So that was good. Kind of restored
go.
my faith a little bit.
yeah. Well, that's good. I'm glad to hear it. I thought I could have just done with like one cringy scene. Instead, we got like 5 cringy scenes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like this isn't perfect. And I think with all of the secret projects, like obviously he did not spend as much time on these books
Yeah, they're not
as
as polished. Yeah,
a normal book.
again, knowing that he's writing this for his wife, like maybe this is the type of stuff that she just like eats up. So
Yeah, I mean, he did say at the end note that this was like a love, like she was like, Yumi will be doing more romance in your books, and
Yeah.
so yeah, there you go for like a for a guy that doesn't really do romance. I think that
who's writing it specifically for his wife?
for his wife.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is there a better, maybe that's a discussion question that we don't have time for because we're out of time, but like, is there a better Sanderson romance out there?
I don't know.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe not.
Yumi and Painter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could get behind that.
Okay. Listeners, let us know what you think. Is there a better Sanderson romance than Yumi and Painter? I don't know if I would say that there is, to be honest, as I flip through all of the,
I'm just
all
gonna
of
say that there's a
Sanderson's-
scene in Words of Radiance that I think that the characters don't, I don't know. Anyway, I don't want to do spoilers, but there's one scene where it made me like be an advocate for those two characters and now I've like lost hope in them. But
Okay. I don't know what you're talking about. You'll have to,
on that
you'll-
note,
maybe it
you'll
wasn't
have to-
Words of Radiance. Maybe it was
you'll have to drop that into Discord because now I'm interested. Okay. If you like Fantology or if you want to chat with us more, you can drop us a comment. You can hop on our Discord. Links are in the episode description below. And thank you, Lyndsey, for being our guest star. Hopefully you enjoyed this and we'll continue reading books and tease Ben on road trips.
To be fair, Lyndsey reads a lot of books, just not
I read
just
some
not my
books.
books.
but yeah,
Oh yeah, no, my bad. I meant like I meant
Fantasy.
fantasy books.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the-
Fantology books.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's always good to read books. So
And let us know when you finish Lightbringer.
We'll get there, okay? We'll get there. All right,
All
thanks,
right.
Steven.
See you guys later.